Short essay submissions, a dramatic reading. Utilitarianism. Prism ethical. Unethical, three specific examples for each side. The PRISM program is a huge quandary for the government. In part, it allows the government to better monitor and control threats to the nation. It also breached the trust and privacy of the American people. Utilitarianism is clear that the only ethical path is the one that is best for the most people, and only then if the good provided outweighs the bad. Consider if the program stops a terror. God damn it. God damn it. Consider if the program stops. Consider if the program stops a terror attack. How would one even count the benefits of that kind of success? What personal inconvenience could measure with the saving of a human life? Even if no lives are saved, consider if the presence of the program stops an attack, or what if some other crime comes to light and saves people or property? Human life has always been a hard subject for scientists, ethical or bother-wise, to consider. Most modern ethical frameworks would put human life above all, even the potential saving of more life down the road. There is a reason why human testing is the last stage of medical testing, not because it needs to be last. Indeed, the most real information is learned from this stage, but that's how much we value ham life. But that's how much we value ham life. We'll waste billions before we risk a life before... We'll waste billions before we risk a life before we know the risk is the lowest it will ever be. In this way, it makes the first point raised by the pro-PRISM camp indefensible. We strive so hard to protect possible damage to human life, even at the expense of future problems. Surely this must mean that a life in being lived is the equal, if not greater than, the life that might be saved. Our second point is also indefensible under close inspection. Referring to our first point, how could any amount of property be set against a living person, or that person's privacy or rights? A person who is not a criminal, not a terrorist, not a lawbreaker in any way, might have their privacy violated for the sake of property. Even from the property holder's standpoint, a happy consumer is a better consumer and a consumer who feels safe most of all. Lastly, the argument that a program Keen PRISM helps stop non-terrorist Lastly, the argument that a program Keen PRISM helps stop non-terrorist Lastly, the argument that a program Keen PRISM helps stop non-terrorist crime is shaky at best. Referring to the argument above, how can property be set against a life? But beyond even that, are we not innocent until proven guilty in the United States? If we surrender that right, it is a short road to no privacy for the sake of safety, and that in itself is a state that I personally find unsafe. Deontology, 4 examples of how you are conflicted on actions and how you resolved them. Programming is a difficult road. Programmers control the primary means by which most humans interact on a global scale. More than that, programmers control the way work, play, and education take place. So it follows that programmers have a duty to several parties. They have a duty to their employer, their government, the users, and yourself to create quality programs. Sometimes it's not clear whose interest is best served in any particular situation. For example, When I was working with my internship, I was asked to complete translation work to a new program language without field testing of the new software independent of the old platform. To the company and to a lesser extent, to me this was better. It saved money and time and vastly reduced my workload if testing was not included. After all, the program was well tested and mathematically sound in its old version and had not had problems for its entire implemented time. To the client, however, I can see how cutting such a trivial corner could seem almost negligent. This software was used to ensure pressure valves wouldn't blow out without testing them till they break. If any part of it didn't work, it could cause major damage and lead to a disaster. In the end, we did minimal testing on the new platform before deployment. As a developer, I figured, and my mentors agreed, that if the math worked and the new program agreed with the old, no problems would occur in the long term since none had occurred in the past. A larger scale example would be the current standoff Apple had with the FBI. The FBI could and has argued that Apple has a duty to the government to help it carry out its investigation on known terrorists, while Apple argues that it has a duty to its customers to protect their privacy. This question is hard to answer. The FBI has a point that allowing it access to this phone would be no different than a building owner opening a door for police with a search warrant. Apple counters that if its clients cannot expect privacy, it would hurt their company and would unfairly penalize its clients overall. If it were my decision, I would side with Apple. The president is too powerful and alters the expectation of privacy on too great a scale to be tolerable in the long term. Another great example would be Volkswagen's installation of emissions defeat devices in Easter. I would disagree, however, since God. I would disagree, however, since the end the computer modules of its cars. It's great for the company and customers short term since it means the tests will come out better, and it could be argued that for the developer themselves it'd be better since the job is easier. I disagree with this viewpoint, however, as such deceptions must come to light and the loss of goodwill in the market for the developer would be catastrophic. The end.